Hey guys, Tim Miller from the Bulwark here with managing editor Sam Stein. We were watching the morning shows this morning, much to get to, but two things that jumped out are two of my old people, two neocons, Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio. Both were making the rounds. Lindsey Graham was on CBS's Face the Nation, as was Marco Rubio, actually. And they both had some pretty interesting takes as they tried to rationalize the attacks on free speech coming from this administration. I want to play both clips. Do you have any top line thoughts, though, Sam?
No, let's play it and react.
All right, here we go. Let's watch first. Little Marco, big ears.
Can you substantiate any form of material support for terrorism, specifically to Hamas, from this Columbia student? Or was it simply that he was espousing a controversial political point of view?
Well, not just the student. We're going to do more. In fact, we every day now we're approving visa revocations, and if that visa led to a green card, the green card process as well. And here's why. It's very simple. When you apply to enter the United States and you get a visa, you are a guest. And you're coming as a student, you're coming as a tourist, or what have you. And in it, you have to make certain assertions. And if you tell us when you apply for a visa, I'm coming to the U.S. to participate in pro-Hamas events, that runs counter to the foreign policy interest of the United States of America. It's that simple. So you lied. You came. If you had told us that you were going to do that, we never would have given you the visa. Now you're here. Now you do it. So you lied to us. You're out. It's that simple.
But
it's that straightforward.
Is there any evidence of a link to terrorism, or is it just his point of view?
Yeah, they take over. I mean, you should watch the news. These guys take over entire buildings.
They
vandalize colleges.
Intensely.
They shut down
colleges. I'm asking about the specific justification for the revocation of his visa. Was there any evidence of material support for terrorism?
Was the negotiator negotiating on behalf of people that took over a campus, that vandalized buildings? Negotiating over what? That's a crime in and of itself, that they're involved in being the negotiator, the spokesperson, this, that, the other. We don't want it. We don't need these people in our country. We never should have allowed them in the first place. If he had told us, I'm going over there and I'm going over there to become the spokesperson and one of the leaders of a movement that's going to turn one of your allegedly elite colleges upside down, people can't even go to school, library buildings being vandalized, we never would have let him in. We never would have let him in to begin with. And now that he's doing it and he's here, he's going to leave, and so are others, and we're going to keep doing it. And by the way, I find it ironic that a lot of these people out there defending the First Amendment speech, alleged free speech rights of these Hamas sympathizers, they had no problem, pressuring social media to censor American political speech. So I think it's ironic and hypocritical. But the bottom line is this. If you are in this country to promote Hamas, to promote terrorist organizations, to participate in vandalism, to participate in acts of rebellion and riots on campus, we never would have let you in if we had known that. And now that we know it,
is it only pro-Palestinian people who are going to have their visas revoked, or are other points of view as well?
No, I think anybody who's here in favor. Look, we want to get rid of Tren de Agua gang members. They're terrorists too. The president designated them, asked me to designate, and I did, as a terrorist organization. We want to get rid of them as well. We don't want terrorists in America. I don't know how hard that is to understand.
I mean, you have to admit, we'll get to the substance. You have to admit it's kind of astonishing, just like the size of the ears. It's like a Pinocchio situation. Where do you want to go with this? The fact that he's going to do that, there's plans for more revocations of visas like the one we've seen with.
I just think it's. I guess it brings up the perennial question: is like, does he believe it? Like, do we think he believes this stuff? Because if you just sit back and you listen to it, he's not even. There's no pretext that this guy that Mahmoud Khalil even supported Hamas. I mean, he can't come up with any evidence whatsoever that he was related to Hamas, that he had any involvement with Hamas, merely that he was part of this protest of the war, and that that group that he protested with was generally sympathetic towards Hamas. But that's not, I mean, if that's what we're going on, that's thin stuff. And it's sort of like, this is just the start, and we don't want these people in our country. If he had applied stating that he felt this way, we never would have let him in. I mean, take that to its logical conclusions, and it's kind of a little bit frightening, right? Like, we're going to police people and have thought police for people entering the country, no diversity of opinion. I get that this dude's radical, Mahmoud Khalil. I don't support.
I also understand. Like, I guess here's the most generous thing I can say about Marco's answer.
Okay.
In the most micro, right? If you were applying for a visa You know,
Right.
and when you do apply for a visa, they ask you various things: the purpose of your travel,
and do you support
duration
a
of
terrorist
stay,
group? Yeah, of
do you
course.
support right. So if you said on that visa application, I intend to come to America because I am going to start protests on the campus, you know, where I will organize in defense of foreign terrorist groups. We can quibble over whether that's what he's doing, but then you wouldn't get a visa, right? Like we're not like handing out visas to like,
I get that. Yes.
Right. So like in the very narrow, I understand that, but it's like what that does not give any rationalization for the treatment of him at like post hoc.
It's also sort of what's the word? It's dealing in absolutes, right? Obviously, he wouldn't say, "Hey, I support terrorism and I'm, blocking, I'm causing disruptions because I want to genuinely prop up Hamas." And also, there's less, clear examples of protests where you start getting in that slippery slope.
Right.
I mean, what if someone was just on the campus and they were, holding a sign but not disrupting a student's entry to a building? I mean, at what point do you say, okay, you're acceptable or not? And I personally am not comfortable with the line that they've drawn. But my question is Marco Rubio in his heart?
I think he is, actually.
You think he is?
I think that there's another clip of him defending the tariffs on champagne, where he sounded a little less compelled. I think he is. I think that Marco. But again, what is
the level of protest that Rubio is comfortable with? Like if Mahmoud Khalil,
I think that Marco I think Marco believes that we should only be allowing people into this country that love MAGA, that love America, that think America is great, that don't think, that want to wear back-to-back World War champs T-shirts, and like whatever. I think that's
a good question though. If someone came in and they were supporting the Democratic Socialist Party, right? Like, would he say that's not in America's foreign policy interest? I mean, these are obvious questions that this conduct raises. And would you use the power of the Secretary of State to deny someone a student visa who was part of a socialist institution on campus?
Yeah, I mean, possibly with him, and we'll see, because we're going to have more of these coming.
Yes, that's the thing.
I think
we'll
the
see.
Alarming thing. Here are the most alarming things for me. Number one, the shit. Like, he's clearly saying, "Yeah, we're trying to chill your speech." So if you're here on a visa, don't consider yourself to have free speech rights. This is China. If you're here on a visa, like treat it like China. If you're an American, maybe it's different. We'll see how things shake out next year. Once we get rid of all the visa people. The other thing that you didn't get into this interview, which the last time we got together, we talked about this on the pod on Thursday. I had not yet seen the video of Khalil's detention. Have you seen it?
Yes, where his wife is shooting the footage and just asking him for a name. Yeah.
Let's actually, in case some people haven't seen it, let's just dump in a little clip from that right now.
What? You're going to be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay, let's not. Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand. He's not resisting. Like,
there's no need for this. Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry. I'm coming with you. Don't worry.
No one's resisting. No one's getting worked up.
you guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
It's fine. It's fine.
حبيبي كيف بدي اتصل فيك؟
Take Amy. Call Amy.
Okay. Hi, Amy. Yeah, they just like handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do. Okay. And what should I do? I don't know. Nor. Let me ask. Can we get a name, please? Can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Go back, please. Go over there. No, we don't give our names.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
Oh yeah, that's right. They'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
They'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
She said they're taking him to 26 Federal Plaza. Can you please specify what agency is taking him, please? Excuse me. They're not talking to me. I don't know. I don't know. Excuse me. The lawyer would like to speak to somebody. Oh my God, they're literally running away from me.
so to me, it's just like, even in the generous view of what Marco is saying, which is that we're going to have some new rules, people that have associations with foreign groups, we're not going to allow into this country. I'm not for that. But even the most generous thing, then like there's ways to go about it. It's like, okay, we're going to take your visa. You have time to, challenge that in court if you want. Like if you lose, then, you're going to have to go back to Algeria or Syria, where your residence is. Like, at least that would be a defensible argument that they would be putting forth. This is insane. Like this is Gestapo shit. Like they sent a plainclothes guy in an Avengers tee, wouldn't tell the wife who
they were. Right.
Wouldn't tell, putting him in the back of an unmarked car, then taking him and then flying him to Louisiana. And then when the judge says, "Why did you fly him to Louisiana?" They're like, "Well, there were bed bugs in the New Jersey holding cell." It's like, this is fucking ridiculous. And let him stay in his home. I mean, you know what I mean? Like what is the risk here? There's no flight risk. He's no flight risk. He's trying to stay.
In fact, you would.
You're trying to get him to leave. He's trying to stay. What's the flight risk? And you've provided no evidence that he's violent. It's absolutely insane treatment of this person. And so like that to me is where like Marco is just really eliding like the most, like is doing everything he can to just focus on like this one narrow thing about how he wants to change the visa rules, which I think we can have a debate about, and just totally eliding the horrific way that this guy has been treated.
I totally agree. I come back to two things. One is like, if it were on the other foot, I mean, I'm just painting hypotheticals. A Democratic administration going after, right-wing kids on campus who are here on visas because they're too closely associated with white nationalism.
How about like abortion rights? Like they're going
That's a good one.
Pro-life they're going to pro-life
and they're being a little bit aggressive and it's
abortion
like,
clinics,
hey, get them out of the country. You would freak out.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Secondly is, I just think, look, if the goal here is to marginalize Mahmoud Khalil's viewpoints, this is about as dumb a move as you could possibly make. You've turned him completely into a cause. We're talking about it. We see all the videos all over the place. People are rallying behind him. Like maybe, and that might be it. They might want this fight. They might like this fight. I'm pretty sure they like this fight because it's the same thing with the Aliens Enemies Act that they're doing, right? They're going after Venezuelan guys. They're saying they're all gang members. They want Democrats to engage in this fight and say, "Oh no, don't deport the gang members." But I just think it's chilling.
Okay, I have one nitpick with you on this because I've heard you make this point a couple times about how he's going to become a rallying cry and all that.
You don't think so?
Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he is. I do notice, though, it is notable to me that the big Genocide Joe protests, like the big protests that were happening against Biden and against Kamala, still not really seeing that. I mean, like there are some protests about their protests.
Are you seeing
happening.
any? See none.
Yeah, I mean, there's. I don't want to sound like there's nothing happening, but very minimal.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think there's something maybe revealing there about the fact that the folks that were very excited to protest Joe Biden on
maybe they're excited for Trump Gaza. Maybe that was the end result there.
So TBD. I'll be monitoring you, protesters. Protest on behalf of Khalil, and then we can agree on something. But don't intimidate Jews while you're doing it, if possible, please. Okay.
Fair enough.
The Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey.
Let's go to his clip. This is just to set the scene here for people who haven't paid that close of attention to this. There are these two law firms in D.C. That Trump has gone after.
Three now.
They're private law firms. They were either representing the Jack Smith, the case, they're either representing the whistleblowers that went after Trump in certain cases. They have associations with the people that were investigating Trump.
Steele dossier stuff, things like that.
Yeah. Some of them were related to Steele dossier. So it's the bad lawyers, the lawyers that Trump says were going after him, the ones he doesn't like. He's gone after both of these law firms, or excuse me, all three now, and revoked security clearances, banned them from having meetings at the White House, basically trying to intimidate them and trying to hurt their businesses so they cannot represent
well, the big one,
clients.
The big one is Perkins Coie. And that one, he said, if you're a government contractor and you hire Perkins Coie, you're going to lose your contract. And of course, if you're a law firm and you can't represent government contractees, that's like a death sentence. So that
just
one is
insane
really,
behavior. And especially when you compare this to, it's an attack on the free speech rights, which me and David French got into on the pod. If you missed that, go listen to that. But it was just like, again, this government like going after enemies and picking friends in the private sector. It's again just completely anathema to the way that we do business here in America, or should. Like they were having Tesla sales on the White House lawn, and meanwhile we're targeting law firms that Trump thinks have been too mean to him.
Right.
It's just it's again.
If you like Trump, you get his business, and if you don't, you get his ire. It's crazy.
Authoritarian behavior. So you might think that Lindsey Graham might have some issues with that. Okay,
No.
maybe not. Let's watch Lindsey.
Orders from the president this week targeting some of the country's most prominent law firms, including Paul Weiss. He wants to restrict business activities of the firm, despite a federal judge ruling in a different case that it's unconstitutional. The president suspended security clearances at the firm. He stripped clearances from lawyers over at Covington and Burling as well, because they were involved in representing former special counsel Jack Smith. Do you support this?
Yeah, I think all of these things. I think Jack Smith was politically motivated. I think the Russian hoax, a lot of people should have gone to jail and they didn't. I think the idea that President Trump was an agent of Russia was manufactured. The Steele dossier was based on lies and falsehoods coming from a source that said he never meant it to be used in the fashion it was used. I think Jack Smith's effort to prosecute President Trump for January 6th was politically motivated, and people who engage in trying to destroy President Trump, I don't mind him going after them in a lawful way. I don't mind.
Is this lawful? Is this good for the U.S. legal system,
I think so.
Senator? Because the president's trying to use government power to punish private business because he didn't like some of the work they had been doing.
Private business aided government power in a fashion to destroy Donald Trump's life. You know, on our side, nobody in your world gets it, but our people believe that the Justice Department was used as a weapon to destroy Trump's campaign and his business interests and to ruin his family. That they made up bogus charges and they proceeded in a fashion that was designed to destroy him politically and personally. I believe that. And if these people involved pay a price, they got nobody but themselves to blame. That's
but these are lawyers working on cases. That you're making it sound like the work that they take on is somehow part of a conspiracy and they should be punished for it.
Yeah, I think these law firms were pushing legal theories that, to me, were designed for political outcomes more than legal outcomes. You know, we can have a debate about, you know, holding a lawyer accountable for his client's actions. I genuinely don't like that. But these law firms,
that's what this sounds like.
Jack Smith using the power of government, incorporating these law firms, in my view, were trying to disrupt and take down the Republican nominee for president. That this was an orchestrated effort, and Biden only regretted they didn't do it sooner. So it was politically motivated, and everybody with their fingerprints on it, I hope they pay a price.
I mean, like, look, it's just, what is there to say? I wonder if he really believes this shit, because I hope he doesn't. The idea that a lawyer would be held responsible for their client and then be punished for it is totally at odds with how we've conducted our business, and should, honestly. Everyone deserves representation. Lindsey's point is, well, these were political cases. But yeah, I mean, that's also part of the law, and you have to accommodate that. And just as there are firms that represented those clients, Jones Day, other firms, Sullivan Cromwell, they represented Trump. Would Lindsey be okay if in the next Democratic administration, those firms suddenly were kicked to the side and got no business and were shuttered because contractors were forbidden from working for them? It's crazy. And it's statism. And look, I happen to know like people in the business in DC in these law firms, and it is like they're freaked out. They are legitimately freaked out. They're wondering if they should help. I mean, obviously Perkins Coie wants a big show of solidarity, but there are lawyers in town who are just like, if we do that, if we go and represent Perkins Coie, if we show solidarity, are they going to come after us? Now, Williams and Connolly, another big firm, did take the case. They did get a big ruling in their favor, but then Trump then responded by going after another firm, Paul Weiss. So we're in a really bad place. Like, this is a really bad place. These firms, I don't want to pity big law. Poor big law.
I talked about this with David French. It's like, okay, sure, the big law, the rich lawyer in DC is not a sympathetic case, but if you're a whistleblower in this next Trump administration, you're regular you're a regular person, or you're somebody that the government is targeting right now, right? Just a regular person, and you need to hire lawyers that have expertise in this.
Yeah.
And there's a chilling effect. So you can't hire these firms because the government won't work with them, and then the other firms might
firms.
Yeah, or they're either Trump firms, or they might be scared to hire you because they don't want to get targeted.
Then they'll get targeted. No, it's crazy. And look, I think the through line here is just everything is run on retribution. Like, that is all he cares about is retribution. Even this, going after DC's budget in this bill, although hopefully it gets reversed, but all he cares about is just going after who his perceived enemies are. Yeah. There's no pretense to it. That's it. And so it's the through line through all of this stuff. And I watched the Sunday shows this morning. I looked for instances of Republicans speaking up, and I found none. No one seemed to have any bother over any of these things.
Yeah, the one quote for the Lindsey Graham bit that I just want to just drill in on really quick is, people who engaged in trying to destroy President Trump, I don't mind him going after them in a lawful way. But
in a lawful way.
Yeah. In a lawful way. But even still, is that right? I mean, it's hard to think of a precedent for this. Like, when you're talking about domestic.
Is there a precedent?
Right? Where it's like somebody's like, I want the president to go after his domestic political enemies. I want that. Like, there have been certainly cases, obviously going back to Nixon, but even in every administration, with Alberto Gonzalez, I'm sure there's some Democratic examples of this, of administrations targeting political foes over various things. But it's always like, we're going to try to create a patina of a rationale for this, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're not just doing this because of politics. We're also doing this because we're this. This is just like, no, I want the president to use the power of the White House to go after his domestic foes.
And then he shows up, and then Trump shows up at the Justice Department and basically is like, yeah, I'm going to go after them. Like, they went after me, you're next. And it's just, we're in a bad place, man.
Bad stuff. Okay. Thank you, Sam Stein. Happy Sunday.
Thank you, Tim Miller.
Everybody else will be back here tomorrow with Bill Kristol.
Subscribe to the feed.
Maybe something will happen in the meantime, and I'll see you then. Otherwise, we'll see you with Bill Kristol tomorrow. Peace. Hey, YouTube fam, if you want to support the Bulwark, the best way to do it is by becoming a YouTube Bulwark Plus member. The Bulwark is truly independent. We have no corporate overlords. We're not settling any dumb lawsuits with Trump. By joining, you help support our work, and you can get a bunch of perks right here on this platform. Ad-free content, bonus videos, live streams, and some emojis of me, which I guess some people want. So come join, come hang out, become a Bulwark YouTube Plus member, and I'll be seeing you in the comments. So behave.